Hello, everyone, and welcome to Verdict of the Ancient Kings, episode number 7. Losing your arcane focus, because, well, Nico and I are two very tired fathers today. Daughters just running around, and we seem to be at the end of our ropes, but hopefully we'll be able to continue to have more Hex Talk and whatnot. General outline, puzzle results, PvE. There is a new puzzle that it's going to be more of an audio puzzle, as in we'll just talk about it as opposed to any specific slide. But we do have some good things. Well, hopefully, I have some good things to share with you in regards to PVE and Chronicles of Entrath Chapter 2,
Yay!
which is the official name for it. So I was we'll get to that when we get to that. But first of all, let's go ahead and jump straight into last week's puzzle. Last week's puzzle, as you guys remember, you needed to deal at least 28 damage in the next turn. You draw one card, and what is it? And I believe we got maybe 4 or 5 solutions. Is that right, Nico?
Yeah, we got five. Have not picked anyone to win yet, but five solutions. One person found an infinite combo that was not something Crud or I anticipated.
Yeah,
But yeah, the solution we thought was easy, but apparently there was not too many people that submitted solutions for it.
Yeah, so we don't know why, but the card that was in question was actually black the hand of the Black Crucible, which says when this attacks, draw a card, then discard a card at random. It also has other text that says when a champion discards a card, this deals damage to each opposing champion equal to the discarded card's cost. Well, if you guys remember, there was an avalanche giant sitting in play, and using his exhaust ability, you can choose to discard 2 cards, which happen to be 2 Taste for Bloods. 14 damage right there, right off the bat. You deal 5 damage to anything. You can even do to the Avalanche Giant himself to remove him from the board since you don't need him anymore. Swing with the Hand of the Black Crucible since he does have speed because of the Imolith, and that was a minimum of 28 damage. The reason for the additional card, though, was because when this attacks, draw a card, so we had to guarantee that one extra card was in your draw deck, otherwise you would attack and lose. And the two highest cost cards that are in the game right now is Argus or Psychic Ascension. We would have allowed Argus, even though Psychic Ascension is technically higher. Double Sapphire Threshold in a Ruby Blood deck just didn't make that much sense. So the final total was either 40 damage or 43. But do you want to talk about the bonus solution that someone came up with?
Yeah, so let me do a quick shout out to Wastelands. He came up with Sin the Ether Drake Nomad. Play him because we did say you can have 7 resources. So you play him and you attack, and if the last card in your deck is a Gore Feast, he'll he'll continually create copies of it that you can play for free. So you can just endlessly Gore Feast with that combo in play
Mm-hmm.
and do infinite damage. Pretty cool little solution.
Yeah, so I guess we can give a bonus to him as well. And for those of you guys who have been wondering, we've been trying to figure out what some good prize support would be. And I was fortunate enough to actually visit the Hex headquarters not too long ago. That's one of the reasons why I can talk about the upcoming Chronicles of Ventrash Chapter 2 or just a little bit of the discussions. And, well, I have some prize support that maybe better than PAX. So for those of you guys who were not fortunate enough to go to Gen Con or go to a Comic Con or Origins or any event where they were actually giving out the Hex Convocation packs, well, I have somewhere in the realm of 55 of these codes to give away. And in addition, these are not your typical Hex Convocation packs that you already have in your inventory if you haven't opened them up. 1 in 10, you have a 1 in 10 chance of actually getting the Hex Convocation sleeve. So hopefully that is worth a little bit more. I know some sites out there are selling sleeves for like $90 each. So
Oh wow!
so we'll say this is $50 sleeve, right? $50. You have a 1 in 10 chance. So I don't know. This might be worth more. You might be able to trade it for packs if you really need packs. But we thought that this giveaway would be a little bit exciting for those of you guys out there who were not able to travel to Indianapolis or Columbus or San Diego. I don't know if there was any other conventions that they gave those away, but those are the three big ones that I knew about.
Very cool. Stakes have been upped. Get
Yes.
in your entries next time.
Yeah, so if you didn't want a pack of cards, maybe you might want a sleeve. I will fess up, I did scratch one of those, and I didn't get a sleeve, and that's the only one I'm gonna scratch. I'm gonna save the rest for you guys out there. If you already have a sleeve and you want to give the code to Nico or me, that'd be great. But that's for another time. All right, so moving right along, we're going to be talking about two decks that currently Nico has been testing with, and it looks like you're testing this in the Frostring Arena. What is this Morgan McBombus deck that you have for us here?
Yeah, so I don't know how many people catch my stream, but I was streaming a little bit today because I had a PTO day, and I wanted to make something that was like PVE, but also a McBombus chassis deck, like a typical PvP McBombus deck. So I came up with a brew that was able to utilize equipment and also kind of keep the same theme that most of the PvP McBombus decks had, and also keep it fairly budget. So this is a list that I came up with. The only card in it that's a PvP rare or higher is the Indigo Trickster. And what I really like about Indigo Trickster is, one, it's Coyote. So if you need anything that's Coyote Allegiance, you'll have that benefit. And then the other thing is it's only a 2 cost, and you can spec it with the minor Valor gem, so you can create a Valor when it comes into play. And that's perfect for a McBombus deck because you want to be able to continually play actions to like make your Flickering Gobblers trigger or anything else that you're playing that's reliant on actions.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of versatility here to maybe play like an Embertongue Skarn or Sun Soul Phoenix if you have the ability to upgrade in the future. But yeah, so I kind of try to stick to the theme of creating a budget deck. Some of the other things going on with this deck are things like I like to call this deck the Crackling Gobbler or Crack Gobbler, whatever you want to call it, because there's 3 different cards in this deck, 4 copies of, that have Crackling in the name, and then we're also running equipment that gets bonus charges off of each card that has Crackling in its name in your crypt. So if you play a Crackling Wit and you've already played a Crackling Tide and a Crackling Bolt, your Crackling Wit will generate you 3 charges just off the single cast. So a lot of cool little synergies going on here. The chest equipment for the Thunderfield Seer gives it +1 defense. The glove equipment for burn makes it do 3 damage versus 2. The Crackling Wit equipment, as I just mentioned, does bonus charges for each Crackling in the graveyard. And the Crackling Tide equipment reduces the cost from 2 to 1. So it's a 1 cost return a troop to target player's hand that owns it. And then we have Lanipos Sight that has Coyote Allegiance. When you play it, draw a card. So that first card will immediately be prophesized, because all the cards in our deck are either troops, shards, or actions. And then Mentor of the Song was just kind of splashed in there to get to help trigger that Coyote Allegiance, and we also have equipment for Mentor of the Song that makes an Oracle Song cost 2 instead of 3. So it's just a fun deck. I was able to go through the arena twice with it fairly easily. The only trouble I've had with it on both runs was Zarlox, but it only took me 2 times to get through Zarlox on both occasions. So not too bad.
All right, and so taking a look at this deck, would you say there's actually room for an arena regular in there just because of the additional charges, or is that a different direction than you're trying to go since it doesn't have the Coyote Allegiance?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, after I did a run, I was thinking Arena Regular would be a perfect fit. The only equipment change that I would make if I did something like that I'd probably take out the Lanipos Sight headpiece, because that's running the head equipment right now. But because the Arena Regular has great head equipment. Those of you that don't know, if you run the head equipment every time you use your charge power, you deal an additional 2 damage to opposing champion.
Mm-hmm.
So that can stack up very quickly with all the charges you're generating.
Yeah, so you're making Bumblebot, you're adding charges, you're
Mm-hmm.
using charge powers, and it turns the McBombus into, well, just more and more direct damage. And moving along, you were also doing this, I guess, Ashwood chopping deck, and there's a lot more like PvE specific cards, mainly the Ashwood Smiter and the Ashwood Colossus. Those are probably two cards that uh, most people wouldn't know right off the bat. Why don't you go ahead and jump into this one?
Sure. So a long time ago, someone that was reading some of my fully equipped articles and watching my stream had challenged me to make a deck with Ashwood Colossus. So that's basically what this deck is here. Both the Ashwood Colossus and Ashwood Smiter are obtained in the PvE campaign. Once you go across the second river and go to the first town,
Mm-hmm.
you obtain a copy of each. So if you do that with 4 different elf characters, you'll have 4 copies of those cards. And they both have 2 pieces of equipment each for them.
Mm-hmm.
And the equipment's pretty cool. It kind of one of them reduces the cost while it's in your hand for each turn it's in your hand, and the other one reduces the cost for each elf you have in play.
Mm.
So you can quickly get a lot of these cards in play. So basically, this deck is synergized around playing a bunch of elves, and also there's a few special synergies amongst the elves in this deck, like Visage of the Masquerade and Artisanal Sommelier
Mm-hmm.
are the only 2 PvP rares in the deck. And those 2 cards have a lot of really cool combos. Like the Sommelier, every time we play an elf, we're going to be triggering wines to come
Mm-hmm.
into our hand. And those wines have various effects, like allow us to draw additional cards, allow us to add Crush to one of our troops in play. And then the Visage is every time we play a troop that costs 5 or more,
Mm-hmm.
we create a copy of each Visage in play and put another one in play.
Mm-hmm.
So that can quickly become, 2 will become 4, 4 will become 8, every time we play a troop that costs 5 or more. And there's really cool combos with like the Emberleaf Invoker, because if we deal damage, its cost gets reduced, but when it's played, it's still considered a 7 cost card.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll still trigger those Visage procs. And there's fun things you can do with the deck too. Like if you want to play Mauve, I think it's called Mauve the Hunt. It's another card that kind of has a way to trigger without you actually paying its cost.
Yeah, I believe it's a 5 cost 3/3 dinosaur that says when an elf deals damage, you may play this for free.
Yep,
Yep.
that's the one.
And
Yeah.
then I wanted to ask for the Ashwood Smiter and the Ashwood Colossus, since I don't know those cards specifically, does it say while it's in your hand, its cost is reduced? Because that's how you can trigger the Visage and the Sylvian Performer. So you can play it for free, but once it goes into play, it becomes the 7 cost or the 6 cost, like the Emberleaf Evoker. Does the Smiter and the Colossus also trigger the Visage and the Sylvian Performer?
So only the Smiter does at reduced cost. The Colossus's modified cost
Mm-hmm.
is based on elves in play, and it's in all zones. So
Ah.
unfortunately, even once it enters play, it still has a modified cost. So if it goes below 5,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to be able to trigger the Visage with it. But
All
it
right.
is a 7 cost card, so sometimes you will be paying 5 or more for it. Not often though, because you'll probably have 1 or more Visages in play.
Yep. All right. So how has this performed in, I guess, Frost Ring Arena for you?
I've only done 1 run with it. I actually did the run today, and it was perfect, 100%. No, no issues at all. So it went really well.
Well, and then here's the other follow-up question. Do you think it could take down Urnas in a best of one fight?
Yeah, I think it could. It is that good,
All right.
and it's running no removal, which is saying quite a bit. So.
Very nice. So there's two PvE decks for you guys who want to test out your Frost Ring Arena and don't want to be running the same thing over and over again. I know a lot of people out there are using the Frost Ring Arena to grind out their gold to roll their chests or to convert into platinum and get some more, well, pay for tournaments and get more packs and things like that. So two new ways to go ahead and test those out. And speaking of, well, PvP, and big tournaments. We have this weekend. This will be the first Radiant Rumble, which is essentially it's almost like a mini cosmic showdown where you don't have to qualify for, and everyone can play. So, um, what what do you think about this Radiant Rumble that came in from the Radiant physician, pretty much out of nowhere, and is another, I believe another, is it a $3,000 prize pool or $5,000 prize pool?
It's a $5,000 prize pool, and I think I mean, it's really awesome for the community.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be one of those like endurance tests for people that are playing in it because I think there's going to be quite a few people, and every time you go over like I think another 128 people at a certain point, that adds another round or two to
Mm-hmm.
the length of the tournament. So we could be looking at this easily being like a 12 round tournament, which
Mm-hmm.
is pretty much half your day. Like you're going to be committing a lot of time to getting into the top eight if that's your goal. But
Yeah.
I think it's well worth the $2,000 or $3,000 top prize. So good luck to everyone that's interested in playing, and it's very awesome that a community member is sponsoring this
Yeah.
outside of Hex or GameForge.
Yeah, I got to meet Mitch back at the Hex Invitational, and I just sat down next to him, and I had seen some of the cards come out already, and so I knew, I'm like, oh, you have a vanity card. So I was thinking, like, did you buy like the producer tier? And he's just like, well, I actually bought before producer tier, and I looked at him, I'm like, you're one of the legendary people who backed this game before it was on Kickstarter. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he's a really big. Got to know him. He's actually, like, I believe, like a childhood friend of Corey, so that's how they go back. And just a really nice guy. If you ever get to meet him, definitely say hi. And he's totally approachable, and just like everyone else, or the majority of the people in the community. So really great to see that. And well, really looking forward to trying to play in it. I think I'm gonna be playing it, but
Oh, great!
pretty much if I get like one loss early on or two losses, I'm immediately dropping, because I promised my wife, like, if I have a chance I will play. If I don't, like, I don't want to have you take care of the kids all day and just be tired at the end of the entire day. So that's that, and hopefully I'll get to see and analyze the meta more, because I'm more of a limited player, so I really have no idea what to expect from constructed.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what people have been brewing. I've seen a lot of people attempt to make some really cool PvP budget decks just even within our guild
Hmm.
that seem to be doing very well in the constructed ladder. So it'll be interesting to see how people take the decks that they're playing and what spins they put on it for this tournament. But yeah, I mean, if I do have an opportunity to play it, I'll probably be in the same boat as you, where I'm going to have to kind of negotiate that time very carefully with my family.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
yeah, definitely. It's gonna be one of those things. So I know there's been a lot of trading inside our particular guild, trying to, like, people are trying to pull together and get some decks together. So it's, if you're not part of a community already trying to pull together cards, definitely check out Cornerstone Guild. A little bit plug to us, I guess, before we move on into what a lot of people are expecting in Chronicles of Entrath Chapter 2, or more commonly referred to as AZ2 on the forums. But the official title is going to be Chronicles of Entrath Chapter 2. And there are some things that I can say and some things that I can't say, since I am under NDA. But one thing that I did recognize in walking through the halls is, I think I know where the next adventure zone is actually taking place. So if you guys are looking at the screen right now or checking out the video, you guys probably are familiar with the Entrath globe, and that bottom region is where you start off in the game. You know, it has that little bit of a green, and then you have the multiple rivers. The middle section, or I think the middle section, is where the worms are, and
Hmm.
and that's where you are. And just to the north of that, it looks like that is going to be the next adventure zone. How you get there, I don't know. And all of the nodes and all of the gameplay that's happening, I don't know, or I do know and I can't tell you. So I will just claim I don't know. But I did get to sit down and talk with Kyle and talk with some of the other people who are making the game, and I basically asked a very open-ended question that was this: what did you guys learn from Adventure Zone 1? And they looked at me, they're like, oh, Adventure Zone 1, we learned they had to put in a lot of things in Adventure Zone 1 that they really didn't want to, because it was the only PvP content out, or PvE content out there. One of the biggest
Uh,
one of the biggest complaints that people have said is it ramps up too quickly, right? Where like the early
yeah.
stages of the game, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm going through I'm going through this dungeon. Okay, everything is great. I'm in a dream. Everything is great. And then you hit the chain Goliath, and people are like pounding the keyboard, throwing things at the screen, and they're like, what is going on? Why is this game so difficult all of a sudden? And what they were noticing was that a lot of players who were testing out the game and playing the game the first time, they would like hit that encounter, play it once, hit it, and then after they failed the dungeon, they would never pick up the game again.
Oh, interesting.
So they're
Yeah, that's
so they
unfortunate.
yeah, so that is unfortunate because like they couldn't catch it in time, and a lot of the things they were thinking like, okay, so we need to somehow make this game a little bit less punishing early on. So they did tell me that they are gonna make the game a little bit less punishing, but I'm not allowed to say how when you are in dungeons. So, and
Oh, good,
so
good.
I'll leave that at that. Also, they said that there's
Mercenaries too, right? We're gonna have access to mercenaries. I think that's already been spoiled.
has that. I don't know if I can officially say that.
Well, I've heard it. I've heard it said by the employees during the charity stream. So
Oh,
mercenaries will be available. So I'm figuring that mercenaries will probably be that very helpful piece that we'll get to see in dungeons. And since I haven't seen anything and there is no NDA for me,
hmm.
I can freely say that.
Well,
But
I'm gonna quote you and say, "Oh, mercenaries are in the next adventure," and go from there. What I've seen from mercenaries though are you definitely want to include them in your party. There,
yeah, yeah,
there's multiple reasons to include them, and one of the reasons is it allows you to bring a mercenary does not use the same deck
yeah, it's a
that
different deck list.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a completely different deck list. So if you have trouble trying to tech a specific encounter deep within a dungeon, you can bring along a mercenary to use a different deck. So a
yeah,
lot.
that's going to be extremely helpful. I'm one of those people that, even though I'm good at PvE, I wiped at least twice to the entire dungeon for Chain Goliath.
Mm.
So, anyone can have trouble with PvE until you figure out the puzzle, but I think mercenaries will help quite a bit.
Well, yeah, there's something else beyond mercenaries that I can't quite spoil yet, but
Ah,
but yes, mercenaries is definitely one of those things. Mercenaries mercenaries is a very very large piece of what you're going to be getting in Chronicles of Entrath Chapter 2. So I don't know what other questions you want to ask me about mercenaries, but it's gonna be interesting how mercenaries are used. There's
do they have different shard grids? Do you know about that? Shard restrictions for leveling, or do they level uniquely? Is any of that you can answer? That's what I'm interested in, at least.
all right. So how can I say this? I'm trying to figure it
If you
out.
can't say it, it's fine. I mean, it's no biggie. That's just a few of the questions I would have about mercenaries initially.
Yes to your questions. Not yes and no to your questions.
Okay.
I can't specifically say which ones, but yes and no. And I guess another big question around the corner was like, when can we see this? And I can't answer when, but I can say that while there, I saw people playing it.
So another question about the map. If you know the map is above,
Hmm.
Are there a lot of water-based nodes? Do you know? Because there's a big lake up there that I don't think we've really seen yet.
Uh, I would not be considering that they used nodes that with water in the previous grid. We know that you
Uh-huh.
can, and we know that there are water maps. I would not be surprised if there is nodes in that giant lake or sea or whatever that particular portion of the map is.
And there you have it, folks. Crota confirms water-based dungeon.
I,
We got it.
wait, what? What? No, I did not
I'm
say there was a
kidding. I'm
water-based
totally kidding.
dungeon.
Totally kidding.
But yeah, so there is going to be balancing on throughout the entire game. In like going back also to I believe Adventure Zone 1. I think one of the things that they had said is they wanted, now that they have more adventure zones, they wanted to kind of change the difficulty level of PvE overall. So from what I understand, I'm assuming that you don't have to complete Adventure Zone 1 before you go to Adventure Zone 2. There may be things in Adventure Zone 2 that is actually going to be easier than the revamped Adventure Zone 1, and vice versa. So you might be able to travel between the two regions.
Nice. Yeah, and I think I've heard a developer mention that as well, that they don't want to force people to be able to beat Victor before they can play the Chronicles 2.
Hmm.
So, yeah, you don't have to complete Devonshire to get to the next area.
Hmm. So another thing that they had mentioned is that they want to give more freedom in how people play PvE. And one of the things that they had said was it seems like people play PvE, go through the story, and then they go back to Frostring Arena. And they were trying to figure out ways, and they said they were looking into ways to encourage people to play PvE in the campaign over Frostring Arena. That way, you're actually leveling your character and you have a little bit more story and things of that nature. And I just happened to, I was like, oh, I wonder what they're gonna do. So I played through a couple of dungeons recently, and I noticed that the gold that they're dropping after the latest patch is actually about like 40 to 60% higher than what I remember it
Oh,
being. So
interesting.
that is actually in game right now, where
Huh.
if you run through like Chain Goliath and things, you actually get a little bit more gold than you did say during the Entrath or the Settlers event that happened not too long ago. So I'm not sure if they put like some like Hex is a very very big game. Sometimes they accidentally let things slip into an earlier patch that wasn't mentioned for it. So that could be it. So find expect more things along those lines where you can play PvE how you want to play it. They had said grinding packs in particular is also going to be a little bit more rewarding, and you're going to have different ways of grinding and getting those packs as opposed to trying to figure out, oh, how am I going to get Adventure Zone 1 packs again? Do I have to start a new character? Do I have to roll a new character again? And they said that it felt very defeating trying to basically play a character again just to go through those original like nodes, those three checkpoints that were in
Yeah.
Adventure Zone 1. They said yeah, a lot of people didn't like that, and they wanted to expand the way people could actually approach and play the game.
And you're specifically talking about PvE packs, so not grinding actual packs for like competitive PvP play and stuff.
This is all PvE side, not
Yeah.
not PvP.
Yeah, just wanted to clarify, just in case anyone was listening. Oh, and now I can grind packs and go enter a draft. No, it's just the PVE side. And the other thing I was going to ask is, do you know anything about additional character slots? Have you heard anything about that that you can share?
I When I asked that, I believe the response I got was, if you have 10 characters right now, you do not need to delete a character to make whatever the if there is a new class, you can make that new class without having to delete a character.
Oh, okay, great. That's basically all I need to know. Perfect. Well, thanks for the info, Fred. I'm glad you were able to go visit and check things out. Little jelly, but that's very cool.
Yeah, so shout out and thanks to everyone at Hex and for letting me drop on by in the middle of a workday after the day of a patch to get some information and hopefully, um, if the time comes, I'll gladly go over to Hex Ent again and grab as much information and share it all with you guys during these podcasts.
Awesome.
All right,
Look
so
forward to it.
last thing I guess that we're going to be going on to is the new puzzle for this upcoming week. Now, we were trying to think up of puzzles and well, Nico, why don't you go ahead and explain this week's particular madness puzzle?
Sure. Let me let me scroll up a little bit so I can find the exact wording for it. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, the a question, the way that I want to word it is, what is the earliest turn you can mill a 300 card deck being played by your opponent, given the ideal hand?
Given the
So,
ideal hand and deck, right?
given the ideal hand and deck, so you have to name the ideal hand, the cards in your hand, and the earliest turn you can achieve a win with that hand and those cards. So the solution should be sent again to nicosharp@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
List the hand, the turn number, and that's it. Just list the hand that you'd need and the turn number. That can account for cards that you draw on your second turns, etc. And you should be able to mill a 300 card deck by that specific turn with that ideal hand. And that's it. And that's only using the current PvP playable cards. No PvE cards, no RN. Well, you can have RNG on card draw and stuff, but you cannot play any PvE cards, and you do not need to create any cards to achieve this combo. And you don't need to use old gems from the prior set, like the mill gem. So that's out of the question.
All right, and I'll have to add this as well. Is there a minimum or maximum deck size?
Your deck size would be a standard 60 card deck, but for the purposes of this, just consider you draw the ideal hand and you draw the ideal top decks you need to play this combo.
Okay.
Hopefully that doesn't give too much away, but just consider you can draw whatever you need to pull this off as early as possible.
All right. Well, I guess that's all we have this time for this week. I'm actually trying to I see that there's currently 7 viewers out there right now, and I kind of want to reward the people who actually stay up late with us. So what I'm actually gonna do is hold on 1 second.
Oh, cool. And Crota, one other thing that we can touch on after the podcast, but I don't think we actually identified who wins what for the 5 people that solved the puzzle last week.
What was that again?
I don't think we determined who wins what for the puzzle last week. I think we're going to give something to Facelens for his infinite combo, but did you want me to random draw for the other winner?
Yeah, go ahead and random draw for the other winner.
Okay.
All right.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Code. Quick.
I'll set this up right here. All right, hold on.
I'm going to log in the client really fast and steal it.
No, don't. You don't steal. You don't do this. Is it going to be backwards? Because like webcams sometimes are backwards when you. So whoever can enter this in correctly.
You better be able to type fast.
I don't know. Can you? Is that actually showing up right?
So far, I'm on like a 30-second delay, so it's taking me a while to see.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's there right there for anyone who wants it. Can it focus? Can it focus? All right.
It's getting kind of focused there. You might have to hold it up after you scratch it completely.
Yeah, I think I have it held up right now. All right. All right. So one code out there for, well, one of the 8 people who are currently watching right now. I'm not sure how that looks. It looks as well. That's as good as it's gonna get. And anyone who needs to, they can pause the stream and get it right now. All right. Well, from everyone here, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Yes, I'm only giving away one. My wife is like, "Oh, you're only giving away one." I'm like, "Well, we need some for prize support
Yeah,
later.
we
We're
gotta
gonna give
make
like,
these last, right?
yeah, like I can't always expect Hexen to give me like codes." All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thanks, everyone. See ya.